Most videos out there about therapist burnout are going to talk about signs of burnout being things like being exhausted, dreading your clients, and wanting to quit, which are totally true. But burnout starts much earlier than that, and with signs so subtle, you'd never recognize them as burnout. If you're a therapist or a coach working with clients, stay with me because you might be burning out right now and not even know it. When I was fresh out of grad school after doing a 3-year-long master's program, I honestly still didn't really feel ready to help my clients, partially because I wanted so badly to help them. I wanted to make the difference in their life and do the things that I had dreamed to do. And what happened instead is when I was in session with my clients, I often got stomach aches while I was sitting there with them. I would be leaned forward in my chair, so tuned into them, listening to everything they were saying, looking for the places that I could bring in some of my therapeutic skills and believing that it was entirely up to me to help them. And only now, when I look back, can I understand and see what was happening for me back then. Sure, I was new and I didn't have a lot of real life experience under my belt, but what was actually going on was something sneakier than that. My belief that I had to help them, that I was somehow going to make the difference in their life, which is what it seems like we're being paid to do as therapists, was actually me crossing the 50% line. The 50% line is the lens that you want to look through as we go through the 5 sneaky symptoms of therapist burnout. In any client, therapist, coach relationship, if you look at the relationship as 100% of the pie, you as the therapist have 50% responsibility, and the client has 50% responsibility, making up the whole. Your 50% is being responsible to show up, offer what you know, what you see, what you observe, hold space for them. Their 50% is to show up, invest in themselves, do the work, listen to what you're saying, and take it into their life. As therapists, coaches, healers, we cross this 50% line all the time because we want so badly to help our clients. But when you cross the 50% line, your body pays a price, and you're actually getting in the way of your client's own empowerment. So keep the 50% line in mind as we go through the 5 sneaky signs that you're burning out as a therapist. Leaning forward in your chair, not metaphorically, literally leaning forward when you're listening to your clients speak. Your body is giving away something that your mind hasn't caught up to yet when you lean forward. What it's telling you is that you are crossing that 50% line and going over into the responsibility zone that actually belongs to your clients. That desire to help them, which is such a great thing that we bring to the table, can sometimes be to our detriment when we go too far and start to feel responsible for what they get out of it, what they do with it, and whether or not they make changes that will change their life. That's actually all up to them. And this is something that nobody taught me when I was in therapy school. In fact, I think that for the most part, the therapy industry is built on the fact that we are overgiving and crossing the 50% line, but it has a toll on our body physically and on our energy and will inevitably lead to burnout. The body never lies. So if you lean forward in your chair, and you'll start to notice it now that I've brought it to your attention, this is the first sign that you're crossing the 50% line and on your way to burnout. Tension or tightness in your body during sessions. Just like my story where I had those stomach aches while I was working with clients, maybe your shoulders are creeping up, maybe you don't breathe quite as fully when you're listening to certain clients, your jaw tightens up. All of these are ways that your body are saying, I'm not really okay right now, I don't feel comfortable, and I'm not relaxed in my nervous system. At the end of a day of having 1, 2, 3 or more sessions like this, you're going to notice that you feel tired. It will feel like it was a hard session. But what your body's really telling you is that you're taking on things that don't belong to you. as much as we want to help the person sitting across from us, and yes, we are getting paid to do that, it is a tricky line to not feel responsible. I'm in it with them, but I'm not responsible for what they do because I can't be. Just think of an example of somebody in your life, maybe from your family, where you knew if they just did X, Y, or Z, things would get better, but they will not do it. It shows you that you really cannot make people do anything that they don't want to do. And it can seem strange that they pay to come to therapy. It conveys the information to us that they're looking for help, but that's not always the case. So there is a way in which, as therapists, coaches, healers, whatever it is you're doing, you have to be very aware of the line of what is actually your responsibility. And this brings in another aspect that I won't go into here, but I have in my free Healer Burnout Toolkit, which is the spiritual aspect of whose business this really is, because it's not your business. And that can feel strange to say when you, again, are getting paid to do these sessions, but it will make all the difference in the world for how long you can actually stay in the game and help people if you're really able to let go of a responsibility that's not yours. The third sneaky symptom that you're on your way to burnout is dreaming about your clients or writing down ideas that you want to do in the next session with them. This one totally reads like dedication, but what it's showing us underneath is that you've brought them home with you. You're thinking about them while you're sleeping or in the shower or doing whatever you're doing. And that's not a place that your clients actually need to be. Your good ideas that you're jotting down or the dreams that you're having are not going to be the thing that makes the difference for your clients. It's really on their 50% line in the way that they choose to show up to the sessions and to the work that you're doing. This is such a tricky way that therapists get burnt out because it feels like we're caring about our clients and we care so much, but they don't actually belong in our house or in our bed. So the next time that you have the impulse to write down the idea that you had about so-and-so client because you want to try it in the next session, see what happens if you pause and don't write it down. And that will give you more information. What bubbles up inside of you? Are you feeling guilty? Are you feeling like this is the thing that's going to make the difference? Because all of those ideas show that you've put the responsibility on you. Which leads really well into the fourth sign, which is that feeling like if I just explained it differently, then they'd finally get it. This is a place where creatively I really shine. I can explain things in different ways. What if I talk about it this way? What if I use this metaphor? And underneath of that, when I keep trying to explain in different ways, especially if I'm thinking about it outside of the session and I'm like, oh my gosh, next time that I see them, I'm going to say it this way, or, oh, the way that I said it just didn't land for them. But if I said it differently, if I found a different way, then it would finally sink in and work. That really does highlight what's going on at a sneakier level, which is that I believe that it's on me, that somehow I'm lacking in my skill to get this person on the other side of the relationship to do the thing that we can both see is best for them, or to take the action, or even get the aha within their brain. And again, that's actually not my 50%. This is such a different way of thinking about boundaries that nobody teaches therapists in grad school. In fact, an interesting practice that you can do is at the end of a session, say, what was the most helpful thing that you needed to hear today? And I guarantee that most of the time, what your client says was the most helpful is not at all what you thought was the most helpful. And that also shows how we're just these different humans having our own experiences, and what that person has come to the table for and what they take away from the work really has nothing to do with you at all, even though you're the other 50%. And last, but definitely not least, a sneaky sign that you are on the way to burnout is feeling like it's up to you to help the world. Let's be honest, if you got into healing work, it's probably for this reason. You look out, you see people suffering, you want to do something about it, You may have even had close experiences with people you love where they were suffering and you wanted to get the skills so that you would know what to do and to how to help people like that in the future. And it's not that you can't help people, it's that it's not your job to save the world. My spiritual guide likes to say, you're not God's secretary. Now you can insert God, universe, spirit, the divine, whatever you want in that idea, but how often are we acting as if we are the secretary of God, universe, spirit, or the divine? Like, it's my job, I have to. If I don't do it, nobody will. And what's inherent in that is another spiritual aspect that I won't go too deep into here, but you can come find out more about that in my free toolkit. But the sneaky aspect is believing something is wrong. This one is tricky because when you look into the outer world, it does make sense to say that things are wrong and that they need to be fixed. Totally. We see war, we see genocide, we see death, we see destruction, we see people dying. Like, it definitely is a natural impulse to say that is wrong and it needs to be fixed. But what happens at a subtle level is it calls in your own working spiritual hypothesis. And if you believe in God, the universe, spirit, and the divine, and you also see the outer world and say it's wrong, you are inherently saying that God, the universe, spirit, and the divine are wrong. And that creates an internal problem for how you see the world and what you think life is really about. And I'm not going to go deeper into this here. We can save that for the free toolkit and those of you that want to have that spiritual side of burnout. But it is worth considering how else you could see the challenges that really are real in the outer world and how they might not be yours to fix. Now, that's not to say that you don't help people. It actually doesn't mean that you aren't supposed to be out there doing the work that you're doing. It's actually a subtle change that makes a huge difference in your body. You can continue to do the good healing work that you're doing, but in a way where you don't believe that if you didn't, the world would somehow crumble, that without you, it would not be saved, because that's where we have put too much weight on our shoulders for something that is not ours to do and couldn't be ours to do. So this probably does challenge your sense of the way things are, the way the world is. And that's not a bad thing, actually. It's just something that requires deeper inner work. And as a therapist, coach, or healer, that's really what you're here for. And something that I've learned over the years is that healing gets spiritual real quick. So as you dig into these things about how other people heal, what your own healing is asking of you in this moment, we tend to need to go to spiritual truths for the answers. So if you recognize yourself in any of these 5 sneaky symptoms, just know that you're not alone, and it's not about self-care. It actually isn't just do more bubble baths and take more time off. Those are great things. It's not a bad suggestion. But we want to be clear on what's actually happening here, because it is an energetic boundary that's being crossed. And there's even spiritual implications that have a huge impact on how you do the work and what you believe is yours to do. And for those of you that feel called to take this a little bit deeper, I created the free Healer Emergency Burnout Toolkit specifically for this, going deeper into the spiritual side of burnout. This is something that I give away for free. I don't even need your email in order for you to get it. It is a way of helping more and more healers, therapists, coaches come into right relationship with the important work that we're doing so that we don't burn out, so that we can stay in the game and continue to help people for a longer amount of time. There's a link to the toolkit in the description below. And if this video resonates with you, share it with another therapist or healer that you know so that they can pay attention to the sneaky signs and make a shift before they get to the more flare-up, bigger aspects and symptoms of burnout.